The Genuinely Jenny podcast is a place for conversation, curiosity, and perspective, not professional advice. It's for educational and entertainment purposes only. My opinions are my own, based on my lived experiences and ever-evolving beliefs. The views expressed by my guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect my views. I'm not a doctor, and certainly not your doctor, nor am I acting as a therapist, attorney, or financial advisor. Please use your own judgment and seek guidance from qualified professionals when making decisions about your health, relationships, finances, or other important areas of your life. Now let's get started. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Genuinely Jenny with me, your host, Jenny Elfline. All right, I want you to take a deep breath and just take a minute to think about the words. Do not let your hearts be troubled and do not be afraid. Easier said than done, right? A few years ago, a 22-year-old football player from Arizona accidentally changed the way I practiced my faith. Maybe you've heard of him. His name is Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant. If you have not heard of him, if you're not a football fan, that's all right. You don't have to be to understand this. So Brock Purdy was the very last person chosen in the draft. Usually that person almost never gets a chance to play in the NFL. They sometimes they get to practice with the team for a little bit, but then almost never do they actually get to play. Really almost never do they end up being starting quarterback. And he was signed on as a third string, and then everybody got hurt, and then I felt like my life was a little bit ending, but then he got his opportunity to play, and he was pretty good. No one expected that of him. He could have totally sucked and everyone would have been like, yep, that makes total sense. But he didn't. He was pretty good. And then the next week, he actually got to start the game. And again, he did so good. And after the game, I watched his press conference and he was just cool as a cucumber. I remember thinking, he has got to be freaking the freak out. So much pressure to be doing well, and then you kind of do well, and now there's an expectation that you're going to keep doing well because this was a team that totally had the potential to go to the Super Bowl, and now that's all on your shoulders. Millions of people around the world are watching you. He has got to have so much pressure, and he just didn't. He was totally calm. You wouldn't even think that he was doing anything that important. Every play, every game had the potential to determine the rest of his career. And he wasn't cocky. He didn't have chip on his shoulder, whatever. He was just calm. I've never experienced pressure like that, but I like to say in real life, I am a realtor. And I think that real estate is a very high pressure job. I've been a realtor since 2017. This isn't my first commission job, but this was the first time that my entire income was based on volatile situations and multiple personalities. Each transaction would make or break thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars worth of income for my family. And right from the beginning, that caused so much pressure. Every time a situation would start getting a little sketchy, I would just be so anxious because one thing goes wrong and now I'm not getting paid. And throughout this whole time, I've always believed in God. I have always prayed and I trusted God theoretically. And I say theoretically because I felt like I had full trust, but at the same time, I was so anxious about trying to control all of these outcomes. Generally speaking, trust God sounds great until something scary happens, right? Especially if you're someone who lives with anxiety anyway. If you have anxiety, you're constantly living 10 steps ahead. You're constantly worrying about the worst case scenario. You're talking out potential conversations in your head. You're working through contingencies just in case things go awry. You're trying to predict what's going to happen. And there's this belief underneath all of that it's if I can anticipate what's going to happen, then I can prevent it, and then everything will be okay. And it's also a little bit of, I'm not sure if I'm enough to handle this situation. And in retrospect, it makes me question if I truly trusted in God, why did I spend so much time and energy worrying about these outcomes? Why did I spend so much time and energy really trying to do his job? After listening to a few of Brock Purdy's press conferences and other interviews that he has done, I had this realization. That was that Brock Purdy fully believed that his path was laid out by God. He believed that he had gotten to the place where he was because he trusted that if he took everything that he had prepared for, everything that he had learned, and he just made the best decisions that he could, then the rest was going to work itself out. That he really didn't have control over the outcome. He just needed to take what he knew, what he had learned, what he felt, make the best decisions he could, do the best job he could, and then whatever's going to happen is going to happen. He recognized that his responsibility was to prepare, to learn, to practice, to be a good teammate, and to do the best that he could in a game situation. And the rest of it was really not up to him. He didn't know where football was going to take him. And that was okay because he felt like if this doesn't work out and football is not for me, then it wasn't meant to be for me. Just keep doing the best thing that I can. And watching him and listening to him, I realized that he was so brave. It just hit me like, whoa, he's really believing these things that I've been telling myself all this time. And I am not practicing my faith the same way he is. All my life, I've heard, do not be afraid, trust in the Lord. I've heard, do not worry about tomorrow. I myself have quoted Philippians 4:13, but I don't think I ever really understood what any of that meant in practice. And Brock unexpectedly gave me a sneak peek of what it really could look like. So I decided that I was going to start living my faith like Brock Purdy. Shortly after that, like literally within days, I came into this situation that was completely out of my control. My real estate partner and I were dealing with a client that was just very unreasonable and irrational, and she was kind of angry. I don't really understand still to this day what she was angry about, but she had called us and told us that she wanted to have a meeting, and it felt like it was going to be very confrontational. And normal Jenny would have the night before been so stressed out about it, running through all of the scenarios, running through everything that I had done so far in this transaction, trying to figure out if there was any mistake that I had made, or I would have normally been coming up with my defense, coming up with like responses to anything that she would say and just worrying about it all night long. More than likely, I still would have prayed. I would have prayed for God to soften her heart. I would have prayed for the situation to work out, knowing that whatever happened that day could very well determine a big income for my family. Just praying to God that this meeting would go well. But this time, I did things a little bit different. I still prayed the night before, and I just prayed that I would listen and that I would handle the situation as I was supposed to, that I would trust myself, that I was good enough, I was worthy enough, I was smart enough, I was experienced enough, all of these things to get through this situation the right way, whatever that would mean. And basically, that left me with don't worry about anything yet. Just go to the meeting and see what happens. Deal with one thing at a time. The meeting ended up being exactly what I thought it was going to be. There was yelling, there was cursing, there was blaming, there were accusations. It was like a lot of incorrect things. I don't even understand what we were being accused of, but I made myself just sit back, listen, and say, it's going to be okay. Everything is going to be okay. Just keep listening. Whatever you feel like is the right thing to say at the right time to say it, you're going to say it. Whatever happens, whatever the outcome is, it's the right thing. So I just sat there and I took it. I would speak if I needed to. If there was something I felt like I needed to take accountability for, I would take accountability. Otherwise, I just sat and listened while she sort of ranted and raved. As she was wrapping up, I looked at her, and all of a sudden I could see that while she was expressing what looked like anger, that there was something else lying beneath it. Maybe I still don't know exactly what, but I could just feel that there was discomfort and stress and her own anxiety, maybe fear. There's just obvious pain and suffering underneath this outburst that she was having. And it was like I could see her a little bit more than her behavior, and her feelings became more important than whatever was going to happen with this transaction. And now, something to know about me, I am not a hugger. In fact, I really do not enjoy hugs. I think they're awkward. I don't really like to be touched in general. But I just had this feeling that I wanted to give her a hug And so when she finished, I looked at her and I was like, I feel like you're going through a lot and I feel like you need a hug. Is it okay if I give you a hug? And she obviously was like, what the hell is going on? I just was like ripping this lady's a new you know what. And now this chick wants to hug me. But she was like, okay. And I gave her a hug and you could feel her entire body like soften. Like she was so revved up and she just softened. And then my real estate partner, she is definitely a hugger. And she was like, I want a hug too. And she came in and gave a hug. And I'm not going to say that this girl apologized to us. I'm pretty sure that didn't happen. But I think she did just acknowledge that she is going through a lot and she just wanted to have her house sold, which we completely understood. That was our goal also. I mean, my prayers going in didn't change the situation. She still yelled. I was still uncomfortable. She still cursed. She was still irrational. God didn't remove the uncomfortable situation. God didn't really change anything about what happened at that meeting. What changed was my reaction. God changed the way I walked through the situation. Or maybe more accurately, my whole life, He had been preparing me for that moment. And I was finally confident enough to trust that. This situation that I had been afraid of happened and I didn't die. I handled it just fine. And it felt so good. It felt so peaceful. And since then, I've actively tried to stop and listen and trust as I go into any situation. And it's not a natural thing to me. This is not at all to say that I don't have anxiety because I have a lot of anxiety in my life. But anytime there's like a situation coming up that I feel out of control or I feel unprepared or unworthy, I just try to stop and remind myself that I've been prepared for this moment. Just trust. I feel like all of us have heard scriptures about do not be afraid, do not be anxious, trust in the Lord with all of your heart. And I think prior to this situation, I felt like that should mean that if I believe those things, if I don't worry and I trust in the Lord and I just give everything to God, then I will be invincible. And I don't know that I ever actually believed that, but I knew that I thought that I was supposed to believe it. I think I misunderstood that Christian trust was supposed to be a confidence that God was going to protect me from things that I didn't want to be a part of, protect me from the things that I was afraid of, or give me the things that I wanted. But that's not it. It's not, if you trust in God, then you will be successful. If you trust in God, then you will be happy. If you trust in God, you will be healthy. If you trust in God, your life will be easy. God will give you the easier way out. God will give me the outcomes that I want. Instead, it means whatever I'm called to walk through, I don't have to walk through it alone. With my client, I was so afraid she was going to yell at me, and she did. My prayers didn't prevent that, but that's really the point. In real time, I saw that God's presence wasn't proven by the absence of difficult things. It was proven in how I was able to get through them. Ultimately, listening to all of those Brock Purdy interviews gave me a different understanding of what it means to surrender. I realized that surrendering is scary and requires you to be brave, but it's also overwhelmingly peaceful and comforting. It's scary because it feels like you're just sitting around waiting for God. It might feel like a lack of preparation. For me to not be anxiously worrying about something the night before something stressful feels like I'm not preparing myself. But none of that is true. Brock Purdy still practices, he still studies, he still learns, he still trains. He plays the situation that's in front of him, knowing that if he does the best that he can, everything's going to be okay. My new understanding for myself as a non-football player is still to prepare, listen, discern, and respond. God's responsibility is to take care of the rest. And I don't think that faith means that you believe that everything that happens is good. It means that God can still lead me through whatever is going to happen. And good things can come from things that I would have never chosen for myself. And from all of this, I actually had an even bigger realization. Trusting God actually does mean trusting myself more. I think initially that sounds contradictory. As Christians, aren't we actually told to not lean into our own understanding? Aren't we supposed to trust God instead of ourselves? So, how did trusting in God more make me actually trust myself more? If fundamentally God has been with me throughout my whole life, I tell my kids all the time, God chose you. He knows you by name. He chose every hair on your head. If He's been there with me throughout my entire life, and He's able to use all of the things that have happened, all of the pain and suffering, all of the success, all of the happiness, mistakes and relationships and failures. And each one of those experiences was there to form me into the person I am at this exact moment. Every hard thing I've gone through has given me another tool. Every mistake I've made has given me another lesson. Every conflict gives me practice in working with conflict. Every loss I've had has given me different perspective on my life. Every new season prepares you for learning new things. And if all of that is true, that gives me reason to trust in myself. It's not trusting in myself because I think I'm the one that has all the answers. It's trusting in myself because God has been preparing me this whole way for whatever thing is in front of me next. And He's prepared me to know that if whatever happens next has an outcome that wasn't my preference, that it's going to be okay. So, what about you? Do you surrender to God's plan? Do you trust that God can take all of the experience that you've had and use them to prepare you for what's ahead of you? I would like to propose for all of us to give us comfort in taking on new situations, the Purdy rule. First step of the Purdy rule is to prepare, to learn, to grow, to pray, to do the work. Step 2 is to play only what's in front of you. Don't make up imaginary situations. Take each situation as it comes. It's not about yesterday. It's not about tomorrow. It's just about this moment. Next is to respond, to use all those tools you've been given and make the best decision you can. Next, release. Release the outcome, release other people's reactions, release all the things that were outside of your control. And last, and I think maybe most importantly, is to move on to the next play. Evaluate what has happened, learn from the outcome, make amends if necessary, adjust, stop replaying it over and over in your head, because you can't change the last play by continuing to run it over in your head. There's so much that's outside of a quarterback's control, regardless of what he does. He can't control injuries. He can't control the fact that his offensive line let Chris Jones break through and chase him out of the pocket when he had two receivers potentially getting open for what could have been a game-winning touchdown. If you can't tell, I'm still processing that. And ultimately, he can't control what's going to happen with his career. What he can control is his preparation and his effort, his decisions, how he responds to things, how he's going to take on the next play, how he's going to lead his team. And I think that faith works similarly. We spend enormous energy in our lives worrying about defenses that God never asked us to predict what they were going to do, and that He has actually been preparing us for all along. I think in the end, there's just a perspective that shifts. Instead of my old prayer, which was, God, please make this turn out okay, my new prayer is, God, please let me trust that you have prepared me for whatever happens. I told a friend once that I don't pray for outcomes. So like if people are like, pray that I get this job, I can't even bring myself to do that anymore, because I feel like the right thing to do is to pray that everyone involved can do the best that they can, that the right decision will be made for that family or whatever it is. I pray to listen and to trust and to have the courage to do the things that I feel led to do. I pray for confidence walking into uncertainty. I pray to pause and believe that whatever happens, I will meet it when it gets here. Here's the last thing, the last question. If you truly believe that God has been using everything you've been through up to this point to prepare you for whatever comes next, what are you still afraid of? Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.